Hello, everyone, and welcome to those of you that are new to the channel. And for those who are subscribers, thank you so much. I certainly appreciate that and really enjoy recording videos and showing you how to use audio in your role-playing game streams. That's a lot of what I do, but also getting more into the solo role-playing games, which is what brings us here today. So today I'm going to show you how to run combat in Ker Nethalas. I'm going to try to keep this under a half an hour, but combat's relatively involved in Ker Nethalas, which is a solo role-playing game by Blackoath Entertainment, which I'm really enjoying. So let's see if I can run through this relatively quickly and give you an idea of how to run this on your own. I'm using some virtual tools. Obviously, you can use just pen and paper, tabletop. I enjoy using virtual tools because it's easier for me to show you how to do this. So I have Fantasy Grounds Unity, which is up on the screen. I'll be showing you that today. I've got the PDF of Ker Nethalas, which I'll link to in the video, and also a free rules reference guide that you can download from the Blackoath Entertainment website, and I'll link to that as well. Finally, one other tool I'll use today is a combat matrix. I created this, or actually modified one that was created that I found on the Discord forum for Blackoath Entertainment. And I just kind of made it my own and tried to make it simple to use. So let's get into this. So I have the rules reference open to start with. So let's just explain a few of the basics. So first off, you don't need to worry about concepts such as range or cover. They just don't play a role in Ker Nethalas. You're moving around, both you and your opponent, trying to get positioning on each other, and no range and cover to worry about. The way attacks work is the same as most skill checks. You're going to try to roll a D100 or D100 and roll under or equal to your relevant skill. So we'll go through that. I'm going to scroll down to initiative and surprise. I'm not going to run through surprise. You can try to do a surprise roll on your NPC or monster that you're facing. And if they can surprise you, it will tell you that on their description. But if you want to surprise them, then what you're going to do is roll a stealth check against the opponent's awareness check. And what happens? So if you win that check, then you will get a plus 20 on your initiative. Sorry, plus 20 to your first attack roll. You'll win the initiative, and then you'll get to make your first attack roll at a plus 20. Why is that important? Well, normally, whenever you're attacking, you're doing an attack at plus 10. So for that first round, you're going to get double that attack bonus. But since we're only doing a straight up initiative check, we're going to roll our perception against his awareness. So if you look at my perception score, it's a 50 at my normal base score. I have this coded as a 60, and I'll explain why. If you look at my dagger, I have some effects coded up here in the combat tracker, plus 10 to all combat rolls. It's important to note that a combat roll is both offensive and defensive. So that plus 10 will apply when I'm attacking and also when I'm defending. I also have a plus 10 to my initiative. Why is that? Let's look up my dagger for a second. So I am going to go into the core rule set, and let's just scroll down past the traits for a second, and let's find my dagger. So dagger is a piercing weapon. That'll come into play when we talk damage. Bladed weapons, that's the skill I'm going to be using, but my speed is a 10. Your speed is applied as a bonus or as a reduction to all your attack rolls. So a dagger will allow me to add 10 to all my attack rolls. What does quick mean? Let's go back up to traits. Quick means that the weapon grants your character plus 10 to all initiative checks. So that's why I have a plus 10. So let's scroll down here. And I've already got that plus 10 on my perception roll. So let me double click and roll my perception. So I rolled a 56, so that's a success. So he's going to roll, and since there are 3 rats that I'm going to be facing off against, because Blightfang rats come in a pack of 3, I'm going to roll one of their awareness checks, and their actual awareness, I believe, is 50. Let me look them up for a second. I want to do this correctly. No, their awareness is 60. Okay, we'll leave it at 60, and let's roll. They rolled a 46. So the way this works is if you both roll successes, then you're going to take the higher roll My roll was higher at a 56, so I get to go first. So I'm going first in combat. So let's clear this out. Let's go back to our rules reference and let's roll through what happens during combat. These are your combat actions. I'm going to be performing a standard attack. So let's move down here. So here's the combat sequence. So I'm going to make a standard skill check, rolling a D100, compare the result against my combat skill, and I get an advantage. So again, whenever you're the attacker, you get to roll your skill check at a +10. Simultaneously, the defender is going to make a combat skill check, and they're either going to use their relevant equipped weapon or the dodge skill. And if it's an NPC, they're going to use their combat skill. So let's go back to ours. Now, one thing I should have changed this, but my standard bladed weapon skill is an 80. I'm going to put my check up to a 90. I think technically, but I don't want to give myself 100. Because I have an 80 as my base skill for this character, I get a +10 to all my combat rolls, and you get a +10 when you are the one taking the attack action. I think this could move up to 100, but I'm just going to leave it at 90. Okay, so let's roll my bladed weapon skill. So a 79. At least I believe that's a 79. Why did that not roll? Oh, there we go. Just took a second. That's a success. So now before I roll for this Blightfang Rat that I'm attacking, let's look. He has a trait on his sheet. And if I go back into the rule set and look for the Blightfang Rat, let's just look through his character or his NPC sheet for a second. He's an animal. There's 3 of them that typically will be involved when you're attacking them. 3 of them will appear. Awareness skill of 60, endurance of 30, athletics of 5, health of 3. So I've already got that ready. Hit location, they're a quadruped. So that means if I hit them in a head, that will be a critical hit. No armor, combat skill of 30, magic resistance of 20. If I defeat them, I can roll on the resources table. But they have this trait called a pack tactic. So we'll look at that in a second. And then finally, if they have a level adaptation, that means the way that they'll scale up or down with you. So if you're a higher level, then there may be something, depending on the monster, there may be something that changes to make them stronger. So when they are attacking me, we're going to be rolling on this action table to determine what attack they use. So keep that in mind. So let's look up that pack tactic, which I have here on the character sheet. And what it says is the creature gets a +5 combat skill for each other pack creature still alive in the room. So while there's 3 of them, they're going to get a +10 because they'll get a +5 for each other creature. So let's go into their combat skill. Let me make sure again. Their combat skill is 30. So I'm going to make this skill a 40 because it's 30, but they get +5 for each other creature that's alive with them. So I rolled my success. So let's roll their combat skill. So they rolled a 39. So 39 is under their skill. So we both succeeded. So let's look at my Google sheet and see what that means. So I'm the attacker. So is my roll less than or equal to my skill? Yes. And is it not doubles? Yes, I'll confirm that, but I believe that was the case. And the defender rolled less than or equal to and no doubles. So that means I hit as the attacker if my roll is higher than the defender, and if the defender's roll is higher than mine, the attack misses and they get to roll on the defensive moves table. So let's go back to this. So neither one of these is double. My roll is higher, so I succeed. So I get to move to the next step here on combat. So they made their skill check. We compared both the results. We did that. And if you are rolling consecutive defensive rolls in the same round, which won't apply to the rat, but it will apply to me when I'm attacked, you get a -20 after the first defensive roll, and that's cumulative. So we'll keep that in mind. Critical strike automatically wins the confrontation. All that means when it says confrontation, that means you win that attacking sequence only, not the entire combat. So that would just mean that, hey, I'm automatically successful. All right, so let's move down here. So enemies can either attack physically or with some other things. But now what we're going to do is we're going to look at the hit location. So once they've hit me now, are going to roll on the hit location, and I'm a humanoid. So we're going to pull up that table. We'll roll on this. They rolled a 10, so they hit my chest. So I did not code any armor onto Kurt. I could have and probably should have started with something, but we're just going to say he has no armor. If he did, then we'd have to look at that. But in this case, hits my chest. It's not a crit. So we can move on to the next section here. So it's not my weak spot. So we know it's my head. Now you can choose to target a specific body part, but that costs you a -30 on your attack roll. We won't do that. So damage. So he, since I did hit him, and I hit him, didn't I? Boy, I already made a mistake there. I'm rolling, since I'm attacking him, and I was successful. I'm going to roll on the quadruped hit table. So I roll a 20, which is his head. So that is a crit. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have to roll onto the damage dealt table. So if we go back to the dealing damage, all non-magical weapons deal a d6 damage. So when you get a crit, you get to double. So you get to roll 2 different damage die. So let's look at a couple things here, because there's going to be a few things that come into play here. I also want to look at what does piercing mean for my weapon. So I've gone into damage types in the core rulebook, and I'm going to scroll down here to piercing. And what that says is piercing damage deals +1 damage when the attacker performing the attack acts before their target. So that means this only comes into play when you win initiative. So only when you're first to act, which I am. So I get to add that +1. Let's go back to the rules reference. So what it says is after we roll, any damage modifiers are applied to the lowest die roll, but only to a single die. So what's going to happen now, because we crit, we get to roll 2 d6s. Roll here. So I've got a 4 and a 3. So if I look at this damage dealt table, that would mean I have a 4 and a 3. They would both deal 1 damage. Now, because I get that +1 for piercing, I take my lowest die and convert that 3 to a 4. So it doesn't change anything. I'm still doing 2 points of damage. So I'll put that up to a 2, take that off, and now we're going to go down to the Blightfang Rat's turn. All right, so the Blightfang Rat is going to do their combat skill. So before I do anything, remember their combat skill, I go back to them, is a 30, but they still have 2 other compatriots alive, so they get a +10. That puts their skill to a 40. However, now they're the ones that are doing the attacking. So now that's going to bump them up to +20. So they get a 50. So let's roll on that skill. They roll a 73. They fail. Now I'm going to use my bladed weapon. This is the first time I'm using it. So I do get a +10 to my base 80, not because I'm attacking, but because I get a +10 to all combat rolls with my dagger. I'm going to roll my, so let's see. I was under my check. He was over his. So let's look at the table here. So the attacker was less than or equal to, let's make sure there were no doubles. So I was less than or equal to, or he was greater than or equal to. So he failed. I succeeded. So that means the attack misses and the defender, me, gets a defensive move. So let's go back. And I'm going to pull up the defensive moves table. And I'm going to roll the defensive moves table. And I get a 6. So that means my next attack deals a +10 damage. So I'm going to make a little effect so I don't forget this. And let's add an effect here. I'm going to say +10 next attack. And I'm going to make this as a 1. So I know that this only happens once. And hopefully I won't forget that. So let's leave that up there. So, and that's, again, it's not +10 damage. It's a plus, and I should make sure I clarify that, but it's just a plus a D10. So that's important. So we'll roll a D10 on that damage table. All right, this back. So that is the Blightfang Rat's turn. Now I have the next turn. Now it's important. Let's clear this out. And before I do anything, I'm going to look at my bladed weapon skill. And because now this is going to be the second defensive action I take this round, I need to pull my check down to a 70. That's going to be my target. I get minus 20. So let's go ahead. I'll take this off. Let's go ahead and have the Blightfang Rat roll its combat skill. It rolled a 57. It failed again. Now I'm rolling my bladed weapon. And I rolled a 62. I succeeded, so I'm under. So that means I get to roll again on the defensive move table. So I roll a 9. So you gain a moment of respite after fending off your opponent's attack. Recover 2 toughness. I don't have any that are hurt. 2 health in case of NPCs and opponents. So that doesn't do anything because I'm not hurt at the moment. Let's move down to the next Blightfang Rat. And again, because this is the 3rd time I'm defending, I need to take down my score to a 50. So now I'm down to a 50 when I'm defending. So we'll have the Blightfang Rat roll on his combat skill. 50 even, that's a success. Okay, so that is a success. And I'm going to roll on mine. 77. So not only did I fail, but because I rolled doubles, that's a critical fail. It's important to keep track of doubles. But if there's a silver lining, whenever you roll doubles, you do get to place a little check mark on your character sheet. And when you get a chance to camp or rest, you'll be able to try to improve your skill by rolling. We're not going to go through that on this video. This is more about combat, but just note that's what you would do. So let's go back and look at the chart here. So he's the attacker. So he did score less than or equal to his skill, but not doubles. But I rolled greater than or equal to my skill, and I rolled doubles. So that means that he upgrades his attack to a critical hit. So let's go back to this and let's go to his attack matrix. So I need to look up, and I think I already have this on here, the Blightfang Rat's action. So remember, he has different types of actions. So let's see what he's going to do first. So I'm rolling on that. He scratches. So he deals a D4 +1 slashing damage. So I hope I'm doing this right, but he rolled a critical hit. So I know he gets to double his damage die. Let's go back and look at combat for a second. And let's see if I can look at critical hit here, just to make sure I do this right. Critical hit. Critical hits and fumbles. This means, so they have their damage doubled. This means if you would usually roll D6 damage, when you roll, you must roll 2D6. Any modifiers to roll are also doubled. That's really important to know that. I'm glad I looked at that. So what that means is he is going to roll 2D4, and each of them will have a +1 damage. So hold that thought. And then I am going to also, he's going to roll against me. So I'm a humanoid. He has to see where he attacks me. So he rolls a 9. So it's my abdomen. So at least it's not a critical hit. I guess he's already gotten a critical hit. I probably didn't need to do that. But now let's clear this out and let's roll 2D4. I'm going to put a modifier. We'll do a +1 modifier to start. We'll roll the first D4. And let's go back to my damage dealt. So we rolled a 4. That's going to be a 1 damage. So I'm going to go down to a 1 wound. And let's roll again. So again, he'll roll another D4 +1 because you double both damage. And he rolled a 4 again. So he did 1 damage. So now he did a 2 damage. So that's it. You're just going to keep going. So now we would go back up to the top if we started another round. And remember, then my score. So again, I had that bladed weapon all the way down to 50, but it's going to go all the way back up to 90 because I get to add a +10 because of my dagger. And again, I think it could go up to 100. All that seems counterintuitive, but technically I think I could put that up to 100. But that's it. That's most of what you're going to run into in combat. There might be another couple of other interesting things that might come into play based on the type of creature that you ran into. I didn't kill any of the Blightfang Rats, so their pack tactics would go down by 5 points for each one I killed until you have 1 left, and then they'd have no bonus. So I hope that's helpful. It's fun to run combat. It's a great system. I would encourage you to check it out. So I'll do some more videos on a couple of more exploration items and some other things in Ker Nethalas if you're interested. Thanks for watching.